poverty is an issue that we're dealing with for a long time. Today, the need of the hour is to recognize that half of the population is contributing towards development and is making its share. Then why does it need to be recognized? So gender budgeting is one way of recognizing that effort and manifesting the efforts of the gender equality notion into the grounds. So today at Indian Folk, we'll be decoding the term gender budgeting for you. What is gender budgeting? Gender budgeting is a tool used to make the budget compatible with the needs of women and to promote equality. It does not include an accounting exercise, but includes formulating policies and programs, allocating budgetary expenditure and analyzing the effects, keeping in mind the impact on women. Australia was the first country to implement a women's budget in 1984. Federal, state and territorial governments in Australia examined the impact of budgets on women and girls for 12 years until the change of the government in 1996. Now the question comes, why is there a need for gender budgeting? Gender parity is an issue that today everyone is suffering from. It has also been included in the UN developmental goals. So now, if we do need to make our society more diverse, representative and inclusive of the other gender, then there is a need for us to promote gender equality, and then formulating policy is the major initiative that one can work for. Now, the need for such a policy measure arises because the budget policy has different impacts on men and women. When it comes to the indicators like health, income, education, crime against women, employment, safety of women, etc., women lag behind the men. So in order to address the issues of the vulnerable sections and to reduce the gender disparity, that is an issue we've been dealing with long, which we need to come with a measure of articulating such policies and manifesting them into the ground, and thus by policy making, and thus there is the need for gender budgeting. Now again the question comes, how effective is gender budgeting? Because when we talk for policy, it does need to be reflected on the ground. One can analyze the effects of gender budgeting by looking at its aims and its consequences. It aims to promote women's economic equality and provide a practical way for government to implement their obligations under the International Human Rights Agreement, such as the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. The IMF report provides an overview of gender-responsive budgeting concepts and that has been practicing in the G7 countries. France's gender equality law, passed in 2014, is a notable example. It integrates the gender equality into the policy making, which requires that gender implications be assessed in each new law, and establishes quota for women in senior management positions in civil services, politics and the private sector. In Germany, gender equality has been the guiding principle when it comes to the joint rules of procedure of the federal ministry since 2000 and funds for the promotion of gender equality. If we consider now the impacts of gender budgeting, so examples of nations that show positive impact from the gender budgeting include Mexico, Brazil, where budgetary allocations to women's health issues has increased, and Iceland, where the gender data guided tax code reforms and ensured economic equality by the sex. Now, what can a non-governmental organization do to encourage government to adopt such a policy or to promote the premise of such policies, that is gender equality? In the absence of the adequate government efforts in gender budgeting, non-governmental and non-profit organizations can play a critical role in producing statistics, research and assessment to provide policy makers and the government officials with the knowledge of how they can further the goals for gender equality. Now the question comes, what are the factors that affect the gender budgeting policy? So various factors that affect the gender budgeting policy can be categorized into two forms. First, the hurdles, and the second, the factors which enable this policy. So the hurdles include the lack of sex disaggregated data and the data on gender relations, limited capacity and resources for the execution of such a complex task, because if we consider to implement this policy, we need data on how and what are the indicators where women are lagging behind and how one can rectify that. So the very lack of data and the gaps in action and sustainability proves as a hurdle for the execution of such a humongous task. Second factor is the enabling factors. These factors include factors such as security, sustained support for the gender responsive budgeting, engendering the entire budget process, and economic policy, ensuring practical feasibility, building capacities, supporting women's participation in the planning process itself, and then linking the gender issues with the structural inequalities which exist in our system. So coming back to our home, what has been the scenario of the gender budgeting policy in India? India formally adopted this policy in 2005. The gender budget statement comprises two parts. Part A reflects the women-specific schemes with 100% allocation for women. Part B is constituted by pro-women schemes, wherein at least 30% of the allocation is for women. Overall, the gender budget allocation for the financial year 2018 to 2019 has constituted a huge expenditure for the women's schemes. While in absolute terms there has been an increase from 2017 to 18 as a percentage of total expenditure, it still continues to be a range of 5%. To boost women's formal sector employment and take-home earnings, Provident Fund contributions by them have been reduced from 10 to 12% to about 8%. For the first 3 years of the employment, the allocation for the Mudra Yojana scheme, which provides loan to those who may not otherwise be able to access funds, has been raised from about 2.44 lakh crores to 3 lakh crores. At present, about 76% of the Mudra loan accounts are held by women. The target of providing LPG connections to poor women to safeguard them from the adverse health effects of the smoke and the unclean cooking fuel has been increased from 5 crores to 8 crores under the Ujjwala Yojana. The target to build up another 2 crore toilets emphasizes on the positive effects of sanitation facilities for the dignity of women. Today, women are no more confined to their homes. They contribute a good share towards the development of a country, and gender budgeting seems to be the way to recognize and reciprocate towards that contribution, while if it is aligned with effective implementation.